Alright guys, welcome back. This is part number 9. On this part we'll be practicing, or we will be solving a problem that will require us to use 180 rule and the co-ratio rule. Now I will draw the Cartesian plane with what are these? With I'm running out of words, guys. With quadrants. First quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. Now, if you still remember, we use 180 and 360, and also we're gonna use 270 and 90. Now, with 180 rule, remember this is theta. With co-ratio rule, this is 90 minus theta. And on the second quadrant, how do you represent this? It's 180 minus. Alright, let me just do this. 180 rule is 180 minus theta, and then the co-ratio rule is 90 plus theta. Now the third quadrant, how do you represent it? With 180 rule, it's 180 plus theta, and then with the co-ratio rule, it's 270 minus theta. Now the fourth quadrant, how do you represent it? It's 360, in fact, not 180 this time, 360 minus theta, and then 270 plus theta. Remember guys, this is how we represent the quadrant with both 180 rule and the co-ratio rule. Oh, sorry about that. And the co-ratio rule. So be very careful. I'm gonna try to separate them so that you guys can see what I am talking about, or you can able to distinguish between the two. Now the one with the co-ratio, I'm going to underline with the red line there, and then the one with the 180 rule, let me just underline with the green line, right, so that you can see the difference. Okay, I hope this is gonna be useful. Now let's say you have your cast diagram. Now you don't really have to draw the cast diagram when you solve this, but you need to know it. So the reason for me to draw this cast diagram is just to make sure that you guys understand this for me when I am solving this problem. Now I have a problem here that needs to be solved. So let's simplify the following problem. So we have cot 90 plus minus x, right? And then we also have a sine multiplied by sine 180, then minus x, right? And then we have the last one, which is cosec. Let's say I have enough space. I do have enough space. And it's going to be 180 plus x. All right. Divide by. So everything is divided by sec 360 minus x. All right. And then multiply by sine 90 minus x. All right, as you can see now, this is a combination of two, the 180 rule and the co-ratio rule. All right, let's try to reduce this. We need to simplify this. Now, let's start with the first one here, which is cot 90 minus x. Now, how do you know which rule to use in this case? With this one here, cot 90 minus x. How do you know which rule to use? Now, you look at how the quadrant is represented. Look at this. The quadrant here is represented by 90 minus x. So the minute you see 90 or 270, it means that you must use the co-ratio rule. Guys, remember, before you do this, you need to watch the previous videos. For this one, you need to watch the video for 180 rule, and also for co-ratio, there is a video for co-ratio rule, which is part number 8. All right, now let's continue. Now, if you use the co-ratio, let's look at the quadrant. What is quadrant whereby we have 90 minus x or theta? So as you can see, this is the quadrant whereby we have 90 minus x or theta. In this case, it is x, right? So it's the first quadrant. Now on the first quadrant, everything is positive. Everything is positive. Now, since we use the co-ratio rule, what is the co-ratio of cot? The co-ratio of cot is what? Tan. So we know that tan x. The reason why it's positive, remember, this is happening on the first quadrant. Right. Now that we've done reducing the first one, how about we go to the next product? Now, we have sine 180 minus x. Now, 180, if you still remember with 180 rule, we have to have 180 and 360. And with the 180 rule, nothing changes there. The trigonometric functions doesn't change to its co-ratio. Do not mix the two. Now, 180 minus x, what quadrant is that? Let's look at that. 180 minus x, where is it? It is the second quadrant. Can you see? It's the second quadrant. Now, on the second quadrant is sign positive or negative? That's the question that you must ask yourself. Now, in this case, the sign is positive on the second quadrant. But because we are using the 180 rule, the trigonometric function, which is sine, it doesn't change. Sine doesn't change. Let me just erase this. Sine doesn't change, so it's going to be sine x. Now, let's look at cosec. Let's look at cosec. Now, cosec, it is happening at 180 plus. Now that we see 180, this means what? The 180 rule. But then 180 plus, where is 180 plus? 180 plus is on the third quadrant. Now on the third quadrant, is cosec positive or negative? Now on the third quadrant, we know that cosec, it is negative. Cosec is only positive on the second quadrant. So this is happening on the third quadrant. So cosec is going to be negative. So we need to write cosec here. So it's going to be negative cosec x. Oh, cosec x. Can I erase this? Cosec x. Now, some of you may wonder, why don't you change cosec and write sec? Remember, this is the 180 rule. With the 180 rule, we don't change the trigonometric function. Guys, if you don't understand, if there's something that you don't understand, you can go back and rewatch this video. But you also need to go to the previous video whereby I talk about the co-ratios, and also the previous video whereby I talk about the 180 rule, because if you don't watch those videos, you will never understand what I'm doing here. Now let's do the numerators. Now we have sec 360, sec 360 minus x. Now sec 360, let's look at the quadrant. What quadrant is 360 minus x? If you look at your quadratic, if you look at your cos diagram, you can see 360 minus theta is the fourth quadrant. Now we ask ourselves, is sec positive or negative on that quadrant? Now on this quadrant, sec is positive. Now, do we change it to co-ratio? No, we don't use the co-ratio rule because we have 360. Remember, when you see 180 and 360, it means it's a 360, it's a 180 rule. And with the 180 rule, we don't change the trigonometric function. Given that this is positive, so this is gonna be sec x. That's how we solve it. Now let's look at our second problem there. We have sine 90 minus x. Now sine 90 minus x. Let's look at the quadrant. What quadrant is this? This is the first quadrant where all the trigonometric functions are positive. All the trigonometric functions here are positive. Now, for the fact that we have 90 minus x, that tells us this is a co-ratio rule. Now, with the co-ratio rule, what is the co-ratio of sine? Now, the co-ratio of sine is cos. Now, it's going to be positive because this is happening at the first quadrant where everything is positive, and then it's going to be cos x. As you can see, now we managed to reduce this trigonometric function. Let me take a pause for a minute. Alright guys, let me continue with this now. Now that we managed to reduce this, now we need to separate this. So here's how you're supposed to do. Put a bracket in there. Remember, tan is the same as sine over cos. So this is your numerator. Multiply by, remember, there is sign there, sine x over 1 minus, multiply by, minus, let's just do this multiplication like this. Alright, let's do it this way. Multiply by, minus, what is the reciprocal of cosec of this one here? This cosec here. What is the reciprocal? Now, cosec is the same as 1 over sine. So 1 over sine x. So this is the numerator of this problem. Now, instead of writing this line, we can do the division here. There's a reason why we're doing it this way, guys. So, what is the reciprocal of sec? If you still remember, the reciprocal of sec is the same as 1 over cos x. And then multiply by 1, not 1, in fact, sorry about that one, multiply by cos x over 1. Now this is your denominators. Now, ever since we are multiplying on each bracket, we can say sine divided by sine is going to give you 1, multiply by everything here. Do not forget the negative sign here. So it's going to give you minus sine x divided by cos x. Alright, so we know that on the other bracket, we know that cos divided by cos, they're gonna give you 1. So everything there is gonna be 1 divided by 1. Do we have a negative sign? No, we do not have a negative sign. So this is gonna be 1. Now, meaning your answer, your final answer is gonna be minus tan x. This, guys, was one of the problems that I saw in your previous question paper for 2023, 1st August. It was about 4 marks. So this is how you solve this one, guys, using the 180 rule and the co-ratio rule. I hope you guys understand. If it so happens that you don't understand, you can also ask the question on the comment section. If you have any other way of doing this or the easiest way of doing this, you can also add. And if you find this useful, please do not forget to like, comment, and also subscribe. Do not forget to share with your friends who are struggling with this chapter. Thank you very much, guys. Till next time. Cheers.